Welcome into the Cheeley Law Review. My name is Ben Burnett. My guest today is Bob Cheeley, the founder of the Cheeley Law Group. Bob, how are you?
I am doing great.
Bob, I want to talk to you about a case that you've been involved in over time with a client that you had named Samantha. When we have done a series with Samantha that released in 4 consecutive weeks, if you want to go back and listen to it, it's a first-person account of a medical malpractice suit with a hospital system, and I think it will open a lot of eyes. But I wanted to talk to you from an attorney's standpoint in regards to your case with her. What made you take it in the first place?
The first time I met Samantha, I was really struck by how credible she is, and also at the same time how crushed she was from what occurred to her. I gave her my commitment that I would investigate it and that I would give it my all. So I did. Her case was compelling. She had an injured nerve from an injection in her neck for a garden variety crick in the neck. And she should have never received an injection, period. The doctor should have treated it conservatively. But he was working for a major hospital system here that puts pressure on their doctors to prescribe services, that they can bill for. And I'm convinced that's why they did this, rather than giving her conservative treatment and
saying go see a chiropractor,
or telling her to take some anti-inflammatory like a Motrin and put some heat on the neck. Instead, the doctor decided to have his nurse, or not even a nurse, it was a medical assistant who'd never been to nursing school, pull out a syringe with an 1.5-inch long needle and with no medical training as to where the nerves are, which are just below the surface of the skin. And she proceeded to inject that entire length of that needle into my client's neck, into Samantha's neck. And as a result, Samantha's basically can't use her right arm and right shoulder. And she was only 29 years old. She was a Pilates teacher. So I took the case after 3 other prominent attorneys had turned it down. And the reason that they gave for turning it down to Samantha was you don't look injured enough, and your damages aren't significant enough. But, in my book, if you can't use your arm and your shoulder, that's pretty serious injury, particularly at such a young age. So I took the case. I believed in her. I believed her story. Went to trial and tried the case and got justice for her. The jury was told while they were deliberating that we had reached a settlement with the hospital, and the jury was pretty disappointed that they didn't get to finish deliberations. But I've talked to some of those jurors, and they were talking some really big numbers.
When you talk about investigating a case and giving it your all, how long did you look into Samantha's case, and what are some of the lengths you went to in order to put your best foot forward on behalf of her?
I took the case over from another attorney who had basically decided that he could not rebut a defense that the hospital was using in the case. But I just looked into that. I talked to a good friend of mine who's an anesthesiologist, and asked him to help me understand what this Parsonage-Turner syndrome defense was. And we looked at a number of peer-reviewed medical journal articles on it. I realized that there's no way that she had Parsonage-Turner syndrome, which was an autoimmune or very rare autoimmune nerve injury or nerve disease. So whereas the previous attorney turned tail and ran when the hospital floated that defense, I just decided to get after it and destroy it. And I knew that if I could destroy that they would have no defense. And we did.
When a hospital system chooses to settle a case after the trial portion is complete and a jury is deliberating, do they do that because they feel like there is an unfavorable outcome coming to the mothership of the hospital system?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they want to avoid the bad publicity from a massive verdict.
When a hospital system chooses to settle a medical malpractice case, what do they ask the plaintiff to agree to as a part of that settlement?
First of all, non-disclosure of the amount of the settlement. You can talk about the facts of the case, but you just can't mention how much the hospital system paid. And also, they typically want the plaintiff to sign a release. And one of the parts of the release is that obviously they'll never sue them again for the same injuries, but also that they will not disparage, put anything on social media, for example, disparaging the hospital for what they did. And in this case, they asked Samantha to also agree, and we did agree to it, that she would not write a book or agree to appear in any kind of documentary about what had happened to her. So they were definitely fearful of what the jury was about to do, and after talking to the jury, they made the right decision to settle the case.
This has been another episode of the Cheeley Law Review. Have a great day, everybody.